The heart has changed, and perhaps it hasn't been noticed, but it was this someone who is here now, who started it all. There was silence, distance, a necessary time. It was essential to confront what burdened, what no longer fit, and in the midst of the process something inside surrendered, not in a hurry, with depth. Today what is seen is no longer the same. There's no more talk of pride. There's no active bitterness, only clarity remains, and a decision that is about to happen. This choice has a name and a direction, and even if no one expects it, it points precisely to the one who never left, even in silence, even from afar. The question now is no longer about the past. The question is, are you ready for what's coming? Because love has changed, and those who felt it have too. It wasn't sudden. There was no spectacle, there were no warnings. It was in the silence, in those days when no one asked, in those nights when everything felt heavy and no one saw. Inside, in the space that no one accesses, something began to transform. First came the weariness, then came the distance. Not the kind that's visible and generates comments, but the other kind, the more dangerous one, the one felt in the empty gaze, in the hesitant touch, in the words that never come. The change didn't shout, but it was inevitable. No one noticed when the heart started to close, when affection turned into silence, when longing lost its name. It was an intimate process, invisible and brutal. But even amidst this dark crossing, something subtle remained, something that resisted. It wasn't attachment, it wasn't obligation. It was a memory, a gesture, a silent presence that never left, even when everything seemed too far away. That was what held on, what gave reason, what reignited, and over time what seemed like death became rebirth. A hardened heart began to yield. Clarity arrived without fanfare, and with it the possibility of a decision. Now something is about to be decided. It's not impulse, it's not neediness, it's not a return out of fear of being alone. It's a choice, free, conscious, serene. And this choice, that no one expects, that may contradict everything that was said before, has direction. Yes, it has a name, and that name has never left the scene. It may seem absurd to those looking in from the outside, but those who have seen it up close know. They know the effort, the time, the scars. They know what was necessary to face, to silence, to understand. And they know that there is no more room for repetitions. Now either you live fully or you let go. And the one who is at the center of this story may not have realized that the silence wasn't distance, but protection. That the absence wasn't neglect, but an attempt at healing. That the distance wasn't punishment, it was necessity. The truth is that almost no one understands this kind of pain. The pain of wanting but not knowing how, of loving but no longer being able to show it, of remembering but preferring to forget, to avoid feeling. And yet, this person stayed, even without knowing, even confused, even wounded. And this presence, silent and discreet, planted something. Something that is now blooming. The decision is not obvious, it's not simple, but it's certain. It will not come with grand speeches. It won't have excessive promises. It will not come with a soundtrack or a rehearsed ending. It will come in the form of an action, an unexpected gesture, a reunion, a direct gaze without masks. And in that instant, all doubts will dissolve. Because it's not about going back, it's about starting over. With what remains true, are you ready? That's the question echoing now, not to pressure, but to alert, because what's to come requires maturity. It requires real presence. It requires patience with the scars, and a willingness to rebuild, but in the right way at the right time. There will be no room for the same mistakes, for mind games, for the wounded ego that wants to prove something. The time for pride has passed. Now it's about surrender, about reciprocity, about staying and making it count. And there's something even deeper behind all of this. This transformation isn't just about love, it's about identity, about emotional liberation, about stopping the need for recognition from others, to finally recognize oneself. The person who used to hesitate now takes a deep breath before acting. And that changes everything, Because those who have gone through their own pain don't come back the same, they don't love the same, they don't accept the same, and they won't settle for halves. That's why what's coming won't be shallow, and it won't be easy, but it will be real. The approach will carry silences that are yet to be explained, wounds that may never be completely voiced, but it will also carry the weight of truth and the relief of finally seeing clearly. Whoever is on the other side will need to listen with an open heart. No pressure, no interruptions. Don't hurry, and if they can, they will understand everything, because deep down all this person ever wanted was to be understood. Not idolized, not pressured, not idealized, just understood. They wanted comfort, but they didn't know how to ask. They wanted to be seen, but they learned to hide. They wanted to stay, but they had to distance themselves to survive. And now that all of this has been understood, the decision comes. Simple, profound, surprising. And this decision might be exactly what you've always awaited. It might come as a reunion, as a message, as an unexpected approach. But it will come from a place that has been deeply revisited. There is no more doubt there, no more fear disguised as certainty. What exists now is awareness. And when awareness meets affection, everything changes. And are you ready to receive this? This question will linger in the air, like a pause, like an invitation, like a mirror. Because deep down, this story was never about starting over. It was about maturing, and finally choosing with a clear heart. Because the truth is that this choice is not just an answer. It is a reflection of everything that has been kept inside, of everything that was felt, but never put into words. This choice, when it comes, will seem simple, but only those who have lived through the silences will understand the weight it carries. It is the result of a process that not everyone could endure, because it requires looking at the past without anger, accepting what hurt without seeking revenge, recognizing the other without negating oneself. And no, it's not about forgiveness as a concept. It's something else. It's maturity. It's the moment when pain stops being a wound and becomes a bridge. Those who are about to choose don't want perfection. They want presence. Someone who knows how to listen, who isn't frightened by silences, who doesn't interpret everything as rejection, someone who doesn't need to invade to feel accepted, nor prove all the time that they are there. Because when a heart returns after being rebuilt, it comes back whole, but it requires care. Not the fragile care that paralyzes, but that which observes. That reads the gesture, that understands the pause before the response, and those who influence this transformation may have never realized the impact they had. It was in the small acts, in the silent presence when everything was shouting, in the way they stayed when there were all the reasons to leave. They didn't need to say much, they just didn't disappear. And that was everything. Because there are moments when no one needs words. They need someone who breathes alongside them, even without understanding. And that's exactly what was recorded, deep down, saved, forgotten perhaps, but never lost. So now the question isn't just whether you're ready to be chosen. The real question is, are you ready to stay? Even when it's hard, even when the past tries to invade again, even when old patterns want to scream, because this decision that's about to happen doesn't want a happy ending. It wants real continuity. It wants deep commitment. It wants presence without conditions. And if that's possible, the story changes, without romanticism, without idealizations, only with truth, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it requires effort, because what is reborn after pain is stronger, riper, more honest. But it's good to remember. This decision, no matter how intense it feels, can still be quiet. It can come without warning, and it might not last if it's misunderstood. It requires listening, not just to what is said, but to what is felt. Those who cannot listen with their hearts will miss the moment, and perhaps may never get it back, because rebuilt hearts do not beat on impulse. They recognize value, or they walk away. There is a last chance to understand what is happening, and it's happening now. In the gaze that lingers a little longer, in the message that seems casual but carries everything, in the silence that is not absent, it is waiting. That person is there, not in the old way, not with the easy words from before, but with a dense, real presence, and those who cannot read this will miss the most important part of the story. It's not about a happy ending, it's about truth, about choice, about courage. It's about having gone through pain, absence, doubt, and still being willing to love, but in a different way now. More sober, more whole. Nothing is as it was before, and that's not a bad thing, it's just different. It's strange at first, because instinct wants to repeat what was familiar, wants to return to the old form, to the old pattern, even when it no longer fits, but it no longer fits, and forcing it would destroy what took so long to emerge. That's why everything now depends on real presence, on those who know how to look without rushing, listen without filtering everything through their ego, embrace without needing to understand everything immediately. Because this story is not coming back, it is being rewritten, and the person who is about to choose is not seeking applause or explanations. You are coming to live what you've always deserved, but you weren't ready to receive it. The fragility that existed before has been replaced by firm silence. The fear that paralyzed you has turned into discernment. And the desire that was once anxious is now clear. There's no more room for games. Anyone who tries to manipulate loses. Anyone who tries to rush pushes away. Anyone who tries to control destroys. Because now it's all or nothing. Not in a threatening tone, but in the tone of someone who knows their own worth. Someone who will no longer beg for attention, nor justify their feelings. Now it's simple, it's like this. Either you come completely or it's better not to come at all. And that's scary, because it requires letting go. It requires emotional maturity. It demands a listening that the world isn't used to providing. It requires staying when the other person is confused. It requires knowing when to be silent and when to speak. It requires knowing how to wait, but also knowing when to move when the time is right. And not everyone is ready for that. Therefore, the choice that will be made now doesn't depend only on who feels, it also depends on who is being looked at. If there's real reciprocity, it happens. If there isn't, it ends before it even begins. Because there's something that needs to be said, even if no one has the courage to listen. This person who has changed will not try again. She has tried too much. She has given too much. She has offered everything in previous versions of herself, and there's almost nothing left. What remains now is sacred, and it will only be given to those who know how to respect it, to those who don't treat it as a phase, to those who don't come with temporary intentions, to those who don't run away at the first difficulty. Therefore, the next move will be definitive. Maybe it will be a message sent at an inconvenient time. Maybe it will be a lingering gaze amidst the chaos. Maybe it will be a brief reunion, but one that says everything. The format doesn't matter. What matters is the origin, and that origin comes from a pure heart, healed, ready, but without a willingness to relive old pains, without the energy to rebuild castles in the sand, without time for shallow relationships. Love has changed, and those who feel it too. The time of silent waiting is over. Now it's time to choose. No beating around the bush, no excuses, no half measures. It's going to happen, and those who don't realize this will understand too late. Because there comes a point when silence turns into goodbye, and there's a precise moment when everything that was possible ceases to be. Not because there was no emotion, precisely because there was too much. The hour is approaching, and perhaps only the observant will notice, maybe only the sensitive will feel, but those who know will understand. The heart is ready, the soul is calm, and the decision has already begun to take shape. It's almost here, everything is about to happen, and almost no one notices. The signs are there in the details, in the way this person has reappeared, in how they now observe without anxiety, in the way they respond without haste, in the silence that before was an escape, and today is presence. It's subtle, it's almost imperceptible, but it's real. They haven't returned to the starting point, they have moved forward to a point of courage. And what comes next is not a trial, it's a decision. It won't be shouted, it won't be announced with fanfare, it will be gesture, look, touch, presence. But for those who are distracted, it will seem like nothing. And As usually happens, the value will only be understood after it's gone. That's why this might be the only chance to recognize the depth of what is being offered. Because time demands its toll, love gets weary, and the heart at some point chooses to move on. Even when feelings still linger, those who perceive what is being said here feel, and those who feel know. They know it's not just a story between two, it's about life. The phases no one explains, the cycles that close in silence, and the decisions that change everything, even when no one is paying attention. Now it's up to you. If this message has touched you in any way, if you know someone who may be experiencing something similar, or if, in some way, you are that person, share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Comment below. Have you ever gone through something like this? How did you handle that turning point? Leave a like if this message resonated with you. This helps get this content to those who really need it. And subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more to come. Reflections that resonate. Words that don't lighten the load but liberate. This decision, when it happens, will be like a period, which, for those who know how to read, will seem like a beginning.